Welcome back, lords and ladies, to Hard West, as we get about trying to raise $25,000 we need to buy in, or pesos, I should say. Was it pesos? I believe it was pesos. You can return to the town of Adelante. Cassandra entered the canteen. Cassandra visited the general store. Let's try that one. Cassandra suggested that they find a local brothel. Though she felt awkward about making such a seemingly lowbrow request, Cassandra suggested that they find a local brothel. And Cassandra told Hardin they should find the bordello. His eyes lit up with unsavoury glow. She admonished him sternly, insisting this was strictly a business outing. Her head was already stirring, darting awake. It was only a matter of time before it was dulled with pain for hours or even days. They arrived at the brothel in time to witness a violent quarrel, an older, flamboyant dressed woman beating the Indian prostitute with a billy club. Cassandra guessed the older woman was the brothel's madam. Hardin stared at the scene, frozen for a moment, agog. An instant later, Hardin rushed the madam, landing a full-force punch in the middle of her face with a crunch. As she falls on the floor, dazed and screaming, Hardin rushed to the native woman, helping her up. She hugged him as she cried, covering him with kisses in a way that suggested they had more in passing familiarity with one another. Hardin motioned for Cassandra to get out of sight. She ducked into the nearest back street. Hardin and his native acquaintance joined Cassandra as soon as they could. She wasted no time reprimanding Hardin for attracting attention to the entire town and doubtless authorities. Hardin explained that he had no choice. This was his duty to defend Felicia. Apparently they had known each other for some time. Cassandra guessed Hardin was one of her regulars. Felicia apologised for the trouble, but said that without her job she had nowhere to go. Then suggested that she join Cassandra's posse as she was good sort and a good company. Let's try that one. Cassandra knew accepting the woman into the team would be unwanted attention, but decided to do it anyway. Felicia thanked Cassandra profusely, promised to be a vulnerable asset to the team. The group returned to a more savoury part of town. Visit the general store. Let's just see what she's got for a second. I do like that portrait. A native child who was kidnapped by settlers. She was educated and named Europeans, then sold her into marriage. When her husband drank herself to death, she was saddled by his debts and could only hope to make enough money at the local brothel. Staying alive has made her hard and unsentimental, both excellent traits in a warrior. Okay, so she's got that. He's an essential, but those two aren't. Okay. That's good to know. Cassandra in the cantina. Cassandra was pleasantly surprised to find the cantina appeared safe and well run. Cassandra received the latest headlines to search for any mention of her latest misadventures. Cassandra's brush with the law had been minor, it seems. She found only a small note about one of the events she had been involved in. The bartender nodded to Cassandra and gestured towards the cantina, offering, right, let's get a rest. Cassandra and her companion enjoyed a good night's sleep with a tidy room. Okay. Right. So, wrong thing, we want to go to the general store. Okay, they're not actually, there we go. We'll grab the naval gun, because I think it's better than the one that our companion has got. Right. Because all I can give her at the moment is to have two pistols, one as backup. Let's try the Pilgrim's Path. Cassandra and her companions came across a group of people camping out in the wild who had numerous tents set up along with carts and horses. There was wooden crosses and ornate incense holders everywhere they looked. A man wearing the priest's attire greeted them on behalf of his flock and said his name was K. Esper. He explained that he was leading these people on a pilgrimage, but they were currently enjoying a much-needed rest. Cassandra remarked that the beaten path around the camp suggested they had been camping there for some time. Esper winced and admitted in low voices that Cassandra was right. They weren't resting at all, actually, they were lost. His map had turned out to be inaccurate. He couldn't bring himself to dash the hopes of so many pilgrims by telling them they had to go back. Thus far he had been able to convince they were still on the Carlyx-Serine trail, where he secretly tried to figure out where it was. Now he was lost and was hoping of ever finding it. Cassandra never heard of the Carlyx-Serine. Kiasper explained the Carlyx-Serine was a pre-Columbian ritual site containing carved figures of human skulls adorned with Christian symbols, crosses, three-cornered symbols on the fists. According to Esper, the existence of symbols confirmed Christianity was the world's sole true religion. Unfortunately, however, the man's map he brought from a merchant in Adland had proved fake. Now he had to need to admit his failure and destroy the faith of his flock. Unless the true map was found, Cassandra finished for him. Esper nodded fervently. He promised to share in his supplies with Cassandra if he found a map. He had heard that the Gracier Permanently family, the Gessier Permentella family library contained clues to Srine's location. Cassandra promised to take a look if time permitted. Right. Let's see if we can find this map then. Matron Parqueli Adrian Gessier Permentella was one of the last of the venerable Gessier Paramentella clans. Garcia Paramentella clans, which had flourished in the New World for hundreds of years. Now the family was a shadow of its former glory, but Garcia Paramentella remained the greatest, more complex collection of works dealing with the New World and the rest of Mexico. Mom Garcia Pimentel jovially greeted Lydia as Cassandra had introduced herself, and guessed she had here to see the filled library. Cassandra nodded, hoping quietly she could find the location of the Carlyx-Serine amid the books. The matron nodded and led to him aside. They was joined by a scrawny figure in clothes that had once been very fine, but were clearly showing their wear. Matron Pimentella said it was her son Porfirio and would be their guide to the library. Cassandra curtsied, taking a closer look at the young man. On top of his hunched, scrawny body sat a large head with a bulging lump in the middle of his forehead. His skin was mottled and unnatural looking. He inclined his head slightly at all times. She suppressed a shiver. As they worked into the library, Porfirio told Cassandra that various landmarks in the area, spouting an endless stream of historical facts, interrupting only by a slight stutter. Although at first he seemed consumed by the study of history, Cassandra soon realised his trembling hands, darting eyes, and blushing meant something completely different. He was him to quarter. In another context it might have been endearing, but she was unsettled by the cold lump she felt in her stomach. Porfirio broke her reflection, asking whether there was anything particularly she would like to hear about. She asked specifically about the famous yet mysterious Carlyx-Serine. According to Porfirio, the Carlyx-Serine was a crowning jewel of the area's historical attractions, believed to have been built long before the first Europeans set foot in the New World. It contained several painted skulls scripted called Carlycas, that inexplicably bore ancient Christian symbols, fissures, crosses, and various three-cornered anointments. The shrine was considered by many an ultimate confirmation that Christianity was the world's one true religion. There had been a minor military struggle over it to control it, but the winner doing their utmost to camouflage its position. When they met their downfall, however, the precise location was lost to history. At one last sentence, Porfirio deformed its twisted into what Cassandra interpreted as a promising smile. She guessed that he knew so much she was sure he must know the location. The young man looked away shyly when Cassandra pressed. He nodded to form the hand in confirmation. He said he would tell Cassandra the case in exchange for a kiss. Fighting reservation, she brought herself to lay on a gentle kiss where his person's cheek would be. Yeah, okay, let's do that. At long last moment, Porfirio turned his head and Cassandra found himself kissing his lips. Then he gasped his head and to force. That's not nice. Cassandra jerked her head back, breaking his kiss, and then backhanded him to the ground. Cassandra withered the ordeal. She even managed to let out some false content murmurs. Yeah, let's do that. I got sick. He looked at her and awestruck, and Cassandra battered her urge to hold her onto her breakfast. He produced a detailed map of the area from the desk drawer and pointed out the exact location of the shrine. He then copied the major landmarks onto the piece of paper and gave it to her. It was more than she could have hoped for. Took the paper and turned to leave. Cassandra, heart sunk. Cassandra's heart sunk when she returned to the foyer and found Harden unconscious on the sage lawns. Lady Pimentel explained that she had left the group alone with a bottle of brandy, returned to find him like this. She suggested that Cassandra and her friends stay the night and leave the next morning. Cassandra felt a dawning premonition and allowed herself to focus on it. Cassandra felt a great danger emitting from Geisha Pimenti House, but extended far beyond kissing disfigured men. In a blink she had vision herself in a bridal gown that was slick with blood. She blinked and feeling passed, leaving a painful throbbing in her place. Cassandra insisted they needed to leave immediately. Nobody stopped them. Yeah, that's probably a good idea. So she's sick. Disgusted. Okay. That's not great. So we got a card. How good's her aim? 45 isn't fantastic. She can have the defense one, he can have the golden bullet. That's 2 of a kind. If we had another 10, we could give him the 10 and get him 3 of a kind and get increased luck. So she's got disgusted with herself, that's unpleasant. Sell the Kalisa Shrine map. We'll sell the map. Pilgrims were just where Cassandra had originally found them. Kia Spear greeted them admirably. She asked whether she managed to find the map to the shrine. She asked bluntly how much he was willing to pay for the information. Gaspia called Cassandra false prophet and a fraud and accused her of trying to profit from the artifact of the true one, true God, but her expression, however, was clear that she had seen right through him. He instantly calmed down, admitting in a low voice he had scammed the pilgrims into finding expedition here. He offered $8,000 for the location of the shrine. Such a low price, perhaps. Okay, I should have taken that $8,000. Dag nabbit. Okay, we just had to check out the shrine itself. Cassandra and her companions arrived at the favourite Kala shrine, built to the cliffside. Pieces of masonry hanging from the entrances indicated that the river had been eating away at this land for some time, was now biting the axe of construction. Getting inside would be quite dangerous. Let's try it. After struggling through the ropes and party entered the mouth of the mouldy tunnel, completing complete darkness, the floor shuddered with constant vibrations and the clattering sound like thousands of crustaceans skidding across stone. They had emerged into a big room where 2 narrow rays of light sifted in from the surface. The shrine looked like ancient and disguised. Apart from the skull decorated with Christian symbols that lay out everywhere, these must be the Kalakas. Cassandra asked Harden to pat the Kalakas. Harden squeezed past Cassandra into a small room and started carefully picking up the Kalakas in his sack. All the while Cassandra looked around for signs of danger. She was almost disappointed not to find any poison darts, giant rolling stones, or rabid beasts to punish their crime. Shortly, Harden reported he was done. Cassandra shrugged at the anticlimactic shrine and decided to leave. Barely out of the tunnel, when the earth beneath their feet began to tremble and a large section of the cliff fell into the water, the entrance to Kalakas shrine had collapsed. It would take some excavation to get back outside. They thanked the heavens for sparing their lives and left. Okay. Find a cellar. So I've got to be defense. Yeah, so I've got to be defense. Maybe the gambler's den. Harden led Cassandra to a notorious outlaw gambling den. The venue was settled up in the cliffside cave. In ancient Indian Pueblo, there was no light on the outside, but Harden pointed to 2 guards concealed against the crumbling walls. Next to the narrow entrance was a thick black curtain. Inside they found a wide repertoire of gambling tables, assortment, colourful, dangerous-looking characters, and ample supplies of liquor. Okay, that's something. Let's try here. Team returned to the town of Atlante. Reviewed the latest headlines. Okay. Let's see if this bloke. Cassandra discreetly let it be known that she had a set of ancient Kalakas for sale. The proprietor, Mr. Erding Orbix, looked right and left from this door before changing the sign closed. Then he invited Cassandra into the back room. A grave expression on his face, he told her that possessing these figurines was a vile crime, and that as a lawful citizen he was obliged to take them from her and give them to the rightful owners. Cassandra replied that now that Mr. Orbix was the vile owner was the vile owner of these sacred figurines, he would have to pay her for her silence. He valued that at 12,000. Yeah. Sighed, he lamented that today's world seemed ruled by corruption. Still, he noted that with such vice, the priceless artifacts of antiquity would be rotting in a damp cave, perhaps even lost to eternity. He asked Cassandra if required anything else. Upon leaving, Cassandra had an unnerving but all too familiar feeling. A powerful premonition made her head ache for days on end. Her skull buzzed with pain as the visitors took sick. Cassandra saw a stagecoach loaded with expensive luggage against a gorgeous mountain backdrop. Suddenly the vultures cried with the air. She looked up and saw several haggard birds circling overhead. As her premonition faded, she looked around for the landmark. She was positive she could pinpoint the location of the vultures' feast. Interesting. Let's hear one of their number. Sandra needed medical attention. How is Hayden hurt? Inebriated. Okay. It's not. It's annoying, but it's not worth spending money over it. Okay. Crash stagecoach. Following Cassandra's directions, the party soon arrived at the location the stage crashed. The putrid smell of decay indicated the accident took place several days ago. A flock of vultures feasted upon the well-heeled passengers. One of the birds looked up from the sky from its feast, fixing the canyon with a regal glare before slowly flapping skywards. I then began rummaging through the pocket of the dead, whistling hazardly as though he was picking daisies. Cassandra, finding nothing of interest, was beginning to regret coming when she spied a thin leather suitcase sitting in the dust. Opening the case, he discovered documents written in a dark blue ink on thick pages adorned with stamps and seals. It appeared to be a deed to a silver mine somewhere in the Rockies. Cassandra pocketed it while her companions rummaged through the rest of the supplies they left. Right, okay. Interesting. Mexican army fort. Let's check out the army fort. Team arrived at a Mexican army stronghold in the Western Territories. The terrain was challenging and the progress had been slow. They were grateful for the respite. He then offered to buddy up to the grunt. He said he would see what they knew, maybe win some of their money. Cassandra nodded and said she would see what she could learn from the commander. Commander Alberto J. Barbola Baricho greeted Commander gallantly and offered refreshments. He excused his humble surroundings, explaining that the order was maintained in this region by private militias of wealthy industrialists such as Ricardo Lufantuna. Consequently, the Mexican military had only a minor presence in this area. Cassandra asked if it was possible for someone like Lufontana to blockade his competitors' assets. The commander told Cassandra that Mr. Lufontana was a benefactor of the United Mexican States. The government trusted him and gave him many liberties. He explained that the blockade Cassandra had referred to was only a training exercise for his merchant fleet, put on in response to rise of piracy in the Caribbean. A rumbling noise and jeering voices from outside caught the commander's attention. He got up from his desk and looked through the window. Cassandra joined him. Hayden was quarrelling with a soldier, and the commander excused himself, leaving Cassandra in the room alone. Cassandra searched the files, looking for information about her own exploits. Let's try that. Her own exploits. Cassandra searched the commander's desk. Her own exploits saw the commander's desk. Let's try the commander's desk. Find a small key and use it to unlock the commander's drawers. Long connected letters, a standard to army and some ammunition. She found only one true interesting item. An army requisition form would almost certainly prove useful in the future, and no one would miss it. She stole the requisition form. Cassandra could hear the commander's steps in the corridor. She hastily closed everything and leapt back into his seat. The commander walked in, visibly upset. He explained Harden had got into trouble playing dice, but he would be overlooked, looking at it as his soldiers shouldn't have engaged in gambling in the first place. Still, he said, Cassandra and her crew should leave immediately and not return. Cassandra curtsied gracefully and left. Harden's bruised countenance told the tale of gambling adventure with the soldiers. As they left, he told her he had won some money, but more importantly, he had acquired a pair of loaded dice. With Cassandra's skilled hands, any dice game would now be less of a gamble. Excellent. So we got a new dice. Okay, that's movement. Does anybody have any more queens? If we could, actually he does. Those are both movement ones. So he's got 3 of a kind. What happens if we go for 4 of a kind aim? No, that's not interesting. The luck one's more powerful. She's obviously not a main character because her ones have an unlocked cards at this slot becomes better once this character has gained more experience by participating in tactical combat. Right. So we've got dried meats. So what did we get? Tokens, lucky dice, max luck. I mean, that would be useful to her, I must admit, because he is the main character. Actually, to be honest, he needs it more. He really needs it more. Got another one of those. Dried meat. That increases maximum HP. Six-shooter. Yeah, that seems okay. Right. So we can go back to Abalenti. Let's go back to Abalenti. And Cantina checked. Okay. Just to make sure we're not causing any unwanted attention. I get a feeling that eventually we will cause unwanted attention. Cassandra and the companions returned to the gambling den. The place was bustling as ever. Cassandra sat with her within hearing range of the drunk prospector and eavesdropped on his story. Prospectors claimed to own a map to a wreck of an old Spanish treasure ship. Harden dismissed it as bragging, but Cassandra was interested. Cassandra probed what the man's future held. Her initial attempt was inconclusive. Cassandra felt she was already losing her lucky streak. She went on. Cassandra saw the man suffered a violent death, though he distressed her, but she was obtained no useful information. Let's try once more. A searing pain for her brain, she saw the prospector lying dead in an old shipwreck surrounded by piles of gold. As the vigil faded, she managed to recognise a landmark that pointed to 3 possible locations for the wreck. She came back to reality and nearly collapsed from exhaustion. Cassandra left the premises to try and recover her strength. Right, we're gonna have to go and pay for a room. She paid and she's in good spirits. Right. Went out into town. How has her stuff dropped? Yeah, her luck has gone right down. To the extent where I'm actually going to take the dice off him. She now needs to more than he does. Okay. So we've got loathsome shipwreck, mouldy shipwreck, derelict shipwreck. Let's try the derelict shipwreck. On the side of the shallows, the shipwreck looked like a beached whale. When Cassandra's team headed inside, they found it filled with dead bodies of the crew and passengers. The air was heavy with the scent of dead, which continued the dangers of decomposing bodies presented. Searched the cargo hold. The cargo hold was filled with dark, scent-filling racks. Vicar became agitated, saying it was pitch blanded and nauseating-inducing, vital draining, and native called cursed root rock. She ran outside, saying for the others to do the same. Howard then shouted at Felicia, but she was a superstitious coward. She shouted back to Haddon that it was an overbold fool. Right, let's leave. The cargo hold was filled with dark, scintillating rock. Yeah. Nah, that's not great, but I don't want to catch whatever they had. On the sharp rocks of the bay sat a decomposing wreck of a cavalla, almost entirely disintegrated. They could barely make out the name on the side of the ship. Lucius. Ooh. That's 10, that L, I can't remember what 10 is. I don't know what L is in Roman numerals, but that's 10, so it's 10, 10, 10, 5, 7. Cassandra doubted it would yield much. And to search the ship anyway. Numbleg, as he descended into the wreck, Hayden stepped on a sea urchin and had to be helped, limping onto the shore. Close inspection of the wreck yielded an ivory comb and some golden teeth. Worth 100 pesos or so, Hayden suggested they might be more valuable at the bottom of the bay, but obtaining them may be contending with more dangerous sea fauna. Peso, pack out a dive. Cassandra's companion disappeared beneath the sparkling waves, and after a number of reconnaissance dives, the swimmer submerged for close to a minute before erupting to the surface, holding a small ornate chest. Inside, Cassandra found to collect ivory pieces. It would be worth at least 1,000 pesos to collect, and time to move on. Right, we need to go back to the hospital. Right, party needs to be healed. Right, we left the hospital. So he's back up on his feet. Okay. Mouldy shipwreck. I'm going to end it here, folks, just on the off chance that we're into a big battle, because the battles in this take quite a long time. So, I've been Cornish-knight. If you have liked, please press the like button. If you wish to subscribe, please press the subscription button. You can follow me on Twitter, you can follow me on Steam, or leave a comment in the comment section and I'll get back in contact with you. This has been Hard West, and we'll pick up the continued adventures of Cassandra the Mystic next time on the next episode. Goodbye.